Not a bad little view, isn't it? This is my favorite here. It's got some trees in between the buildings and that. Pretty good. Chilling on this rooftop terrace here. Just checked into this Airbnb. Been literally up the entire night. Maybe I got like an hour of sleep or something. I don't really know. But this is just something that's been on my mind, so I'm going to talk about it and try and do it some justice. Basically, what I want to talk about is the fact that let's use this here. Let me hold this. Perfect. Look at this. The balance of male and female in our world is off. And I think if you have any sense, if you take the time to look around, it's pretty evident. And there's a whole lot of layers of this to unpack, but basically what I want to start with saying is I look around and I see all these people who are essentially anima or animus possessed, you know? And this is like a Jungian concept. Look at that, there's a rooster. You know, you can never go anywhere in Peru without there being barking dogs or crowing roosters. It's a very alive place, you know? You feel very immersed. Anyway, anima animus. Let's get right into this shit. What is an anima? An anima is when essentially the feminine spirit of the man is taken over. And vice versa, the animus is when the masculine spirit of a woman is taking over. And, you know, I believe you can kind of see it in people. It comes out in a physical way. In some cases, you can kind of see it in their face, so to speak. But more perceptively, more perceptively, you can see it in the way that they act, of course. Like, and why is this happening though? Bunch of reasons, okay? Like, straight off, let's not pretend the fact that the invention of birth control has had a drastic change on the way our society functions. Now, I'm not saying this is right, and I don't condone this behavior, but it used to be more that the men always, they wanted to have multiple sex partners, let's say, something like this, right? Or, you know, it was more common that the men wanted to, you know, have sex without consequence, so to speak, because realistically the biological stakes are lower for men. I mean, men can't get pregnant. I'm sorry if that offends you, but that's a fact, okay? Men cannot get pregnant, and for that reason, in the past, sex was less high stakes for men, because, like, say an unwanted pregnancy were to happen, the men didn't literally have to carry that burden. So it was a little bit lower stake in that situation. But now, with the invention of birth control, now women also have that option, in theory, right? However, there's an argument to be made for the fact that maybe the emotional stakes are still different. But that also can vary person to person, of course, right? So this in itself has created a bit of a change in the playing field, and you could, like, if that was the only factor, if that was the only outcome, you could say, well, maybe that made it more balanced. Maybe. But the point is this, that there is nothing inherently wrong with women being very feminine and men being very masculine. Like, if a man is extremely masculine and his partner is extremely feminine, that's actually balance. It's like yin and yang. Opposites attract, positive, negative, they balance. That's the way it works. You need both sides. But now, to get a bit deeper into this birth control thing, think about it this way. The way birth control has also affected people on a biological now is because of these artificial hormones getting into our ecosystem, so to speak. Like, it's literally in the water we drink. It's become part of our ecosystem. We're being exposed to this, and because of that, it's potentially or likely one of the factors that men's testosterone on average has slightly gone down. There's lots of other factors, lots of other reasons why this has also happened, but that's one of them. And here's this really interesting fact, though. They've done studies and they found that women who use birth control regularly, on average, are less attracted to more masculine men. And that right there is a perfect example of how it's biologically created an imbalance, chemical imbalance, so to speak. Like, to the point that it's literally changed who women would be naturally more attracted to. And that has also changed the playing field in many ways. But why also are these people walking around, these men possessed by the feminine spirit, these women possessed by the masculine spirit? Biology aside, it's an ideological thing. You understand? Like, this feminist movement, for example, has completely taught women the wrong thing, okay? It's teaching them that instead of realizing the actual power of the feminine, the divine feminine spirit, whatever you want to call it, instead of realizing the actual power in that, instead it's saying, no, you need to act like a man in order to have power. It's completely wrong. And anybody who's been in, let's say, a serious relationship, or even just if you're having some sort of dynamic where you're, say, in an argument, or it's like a battle of the sexes, for lack of a better term. It's not like men have more power over women. And when it comes to the emotional side, it's quite the contrary. Sure, in a physical sense, most often men have more power. But that's, especially in modern society, not how things work anymore. Like, realistically, you can't just go pushing people around anymore. Especially, you're not going to get your way by exerting physical dominance over people. That's just not going to fly. And in most cases, it's going to end up getting you in serious trouble. If you're someone who relies solely on your physical dominance, you're likely going to end up in jail or dead, or you're going to face serious consequences for exerting force generally. And in that way, women actually have almost, I would say, more power in society, because on average they are more emotionally intelligent. But my point is exactly this, that there's no weakness in femininity. Femininity is not a weakness, and vice versa on the other side. Now, ideologically, we're being told, like, about this toxic masculinity, which there is definitely a vein of truth to that. Understand this hyper macho culture can become toxic in a way, of course, but don't think that there isn't such thing as toxic femininity as well, right? There's extremes to both sides, but you have to realize that there's, just as there's a deep power in the feminine spirit, vice versa, the masculine spirit is deeply powerful, but not more powerful. You realize that is where it becomes balanced. That is what creates synchronicity or reciprocity, for a better word perhaps. You see, but when it's out of balance, that's when things get all shooken up. And that's like exactly how the women are being told, you need to act like a man in order to get your way in this world. That's wrong. That is not true at all. And it's the same thing for these men being told that, oh, you can't act hyper masculine, you know, the masculine spirit is toxic. This is completely wrong. And because of men essentially being brainwashed into being turned away from embracing their masculinity, that's actually what makes it toxic. You know, it's not strong men that are out there causing the problems, you know, like it's not the guys who are secure and focused on a vision, you know. And part of the masculine spirit is this instinct to be protective, let's say, and, you know, to to defend what they believe in and the ones that they care about. That is a valued quality, and it's not any of these men that are the ones that are causing the problems. It's the weak men. It's the men who are resentful, hateful inside, and the men that the anima has taken over because they're bitter and they're bitchy, for lack of a better word. And yeah, you see this a lot in relationships, you know, where I mean, it goes both ways. I would say maybe more in the past, men were dominating relationships more, and I don't think that that's a positive thing, just in so much as when a woman is the one dominating relationship is also not a positive thing. Like when the woman is able to just push her man around, and you see these men, you know, all like hunched over, kind of defeated at the becking call of their wives, you know, you can't respect them. That's because they have no respect for themselves. And going further, it's their partners eventually lose respect for them. Realistically, a woman does not want a partner that she can just push around. And I would say vice versa. The man shouldn't be just pushing around and I'm the leader of the family and what I say goes either. Like that's kind of defeats the whole purpose of what partnership means, doesn't it? So how does this balance come back? I would say it's as simple as embracing your true spirit, you know, and especially not letting, like, within every person, every man, every woman, you have a masculine and a feminine side, and then different people, some people some men tend to have a bit more of a feminine disposition, and that doesn't mean that they're feminine. It doesn't mean that they're woman-like. And same thing, like women, some of them have a bit more of a masculine disposition, and there can be someone for them that they can find to create a partnership that can create balance. You know, these partnerships don't work out. And in a greater, like the ones where one side is dominating the other, like maybe, like you could say like maybe they don't always lead to divorce or whatever, but it's not a practical, beneficial situation in most cases. And this bleeds into the rest of society. And that's why this ideological possession, I think, has also just taken hold. Because people aren't able to embrace their inner spirit. And it's just created a sort of, storm of problems. Because when things are out of balance, things are out of alignment. When things are out of alignment, things don't work the way that they should. So we need to realize that both sides are equally as important. And yes, there is such thing as so-called toxic masculinity, okay? But that's not the true masculine spirit. Like, the guys that are perpetuating this toxic behavior, they're just toxic. That's all there is to it. They're not masculine in a true sense. They're not like the archetype of a benevolent father. The true masculine spirit is the archetype of a benevolent father who is powerful and in many ways potentially a dangerous person. Yes, a powerful person that has the capability for violence, but is able to harness that and able to use it for his benefit and his partner's benefit, and in theory, their children's benefit. And that's the whole point. And vice versa, as I apparently like to say a lot in this video, because it's a good word for saying both sides. But for the woman, the feminine spirit is this spirit more so of compassion and of nurturing, and that is deeply essential in the development of specifically children. He agrees. The rooster knows, the rooster crows because the rooster knows. This is just the thing that I have noticed and have talked with other people about as well. And I would say has been backed by some pundits, or rather public intellects, because it's an evident thing in our society right now. And like I just broke down the answer, you need to embrace whatever you are. If you're a woman, realize the power in the feminine spirit. And if you're a man, embrace your humility. Yeah, embrace some humility, exactly. And embrace your masculinity. Yeah. Anyway, I hope I did that some justice. Like I said, I basically have not slept now for, like over 24 hours or something like this. But yeah, this is just something that's been running through my mind recently, and something that I've been observing, and something that I've brought up with other people, and they say they see the same thing. So anyway, the rooster says it's time to wake up, so I ain't taking a nap. I ain't going back to bed. going to go out and make the best of the day, despite this mental fog. And yeah, I hope that was helpful in some way or insightful. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you see this sort of thing happening? And yeah, I'd be happy to see what you have to say. Thanks for watching. Take care.